Alright, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Little Man, Big Conversations. I'm, of course, the Little Man, a.k.a. James, a.k.a. the Flash Man, welcoming you back to another episode. Hey, I want to thank you all for tuning in again, for subscribing, hashtagging, tweeting, downloading, streaming, whatever you guys have had to do to listen to the podcast thus far. Really appreciate all the support. Today, no mucking around, we're going to get straight into it with the conclusion of my interview with the Australian Wolf, a.k.a. Mason Childs. We're going to talk to him today about his trip to Japan, his coming home, and hey, even us, he and I, sharing a very similar medical battle. You're going to hear all about it, well, hey, right now. So you've just done the QWA, you've been influenced by SAR, you're back in the fold again for the fourth time now. You're learning from your mistakes, you're having a new appreciation for it. How long now, being that you mentioned earlier that you had your first retirement, how long are you in it now? And did you ever take a break at any point in QWA?
Yeah, I did. Basically, I took 3 months off because I got offered a spot over in Michinoku Pro for a 3-month stay, which is like the longest you can stay before you have to start getting visas and business things and sponsors and all that sort of thing. Yeah. And yeah, that was honestly the best experience of my life. If anyone gets the chance to go and live over there at the dojos, do it. For the love of God, do it. Especially in the summertime, because all the companies do big, huge tours. And it's like, it's cool to do the shows like where, like in Australia here, some guys are only getting one show a month or they're getting one show every 2 weeks. Over there, we were wrestling 8 days straight, and you learn when to do big matches, but you also learn when to ease off, and you learn how to do trios tags, you learn how to do tag main events, and yeah, the knowledge that I got and like the psychology of it, just learning from all these guys who have been working together for years. You just embrace it all. And I was able to do that. And I came back, and one of the biggest things people don't realize is how light the Japanese actually work. People see like Tokyo Dome and Wrestle Kingdom and watch the guys beat the shit out of each other for 40 minutes. Yeah. But on a regular show, that doesn't happen. They go nice, easy, snug on each other. And it's just like being at the gym pretty much. So basically, I just finished all that. I came back and, yeah, I got while I was over there, actually, I got a message from Coyote. I know he's probably going to be listening to this, and don't take this to heart, big man. But when I came back, I went from wrestling these nice, easy guys to wrestling Aussies again. And Australians are just so tight and stiff with like almost everything. And yeah, Coyote was doing his last stand, or he was going to retire, then got cold feet and didn't want to retire, but he was going to take a break. And I understand all that. But after that match is probably the first time in my career, because I was posting high and I was in the best shape of my life at that point. Yeah. That was a match where I literally felt like I had been beaten up, like properly beaten up. And I was getting this like migraine after it, and I was just feeling really, really out of it. I was like, the front of my head was just thumping and thumping. But I just thought nothing of it, because that's what wrestling is. You just take your beating, you get up and you go. And you do the next session, you go to the gym, you go out drinking, all that sort of thing. But I never really sort of recovered. Like I kept feeling like something was wrong in my body.
Okay.
And it was the day before Anzac Day. I was training and I was doing this workout, and there was like 400-meter runs in it. And it was for 5 rounds. And I was going for my last 400-meter run. And as I'm going down this driveway, I ended up falling over and having a seizure.
Wow.
And then my coaches ended up calling the ambulance, and I had a second seizure. The first seizure was about like just over a minute. The second one was about 10 minutes. And they literally said to me, most people that have a seizure that long can end up with brain damage, but luckily I didn't. But that actually, they said there's a 99% chance that you've got a brain tumor. We just need to find where it is. So I stayed in hospital for quite a few days, had MRIs. They found it in my front lobal region on my left-hand side. And they went in and did a biopsy and took bits out. Yeah. And, I ended up having a stage 3 astrocytoma.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was leading up to what was meant to be a rematch for the championship, because I dropped the belt in January of that year, 2017. I dropped the stitches, and we'd been building up to this rematch. And I was like, yeah, this match is going to be our WrestleMania 6. It's going to be Hogan Warrior. And you're going to take the belt and you're going to go on. And, he already had it, but I was going to give him that, like, push up. And then I couldn't do it because of the seizure that I had.
Yeah.
And basically the next month I was like, okay, well, if I can only have one more match, then I want to get guys from Japan out. I want to wrestle 2 guys that are my mates, and I know they'll look after me. And we'll go out there, and at the end of the show, I'll tell everyone that I have cancer. So did the match. Everything went fine. At the end of it, I told everyone that I didn't say I was retiring. I never used those words then, because at the time, as you yourself, you recovered from cancer. Yeah. That was my light at the end of the tunnel. It was like, I said, I'm going to beat this and I'm going to come back, and I'll be back within a year. And I ended up coming back within the year, but I still had a little bit left, and it took about 6 months before I ended up getting rid of that bit. So that I ended up taking a whole year off for that, which is kind of funny because I hear guys going, oh, I hate having to sit and watch the show. I just want to be out there. It's like I had to do that 12 times in a row.
Yeah. Do you remember that feeling of sitting in that doctor's office and then basically saying, hey, man, we've done a biopsy and it's cancer? Did everything just sort of slow down and everything just felt like this isn't real? Like, what was hearing that diagnosis for the first time like for you in that moment?
To be honest, I didn't have that. I basically, I took it in and it hit me pretty hard. Yeah. And I just said to the doctors, all right, when do we start getting rid of this? Great. And they're like, oh, we got to wait. We got to find out. We got to ride off to somewhere. Oh, I can't remember, some Scandinavian country that has like the hub of how to treat all the cancers. They had to send it off and get back the recommended treatments and all that sort of thing. So I ended up having my seizures in April. I didn't start my treatment until June.
June. So how long was that between getting diagnosed and having treatment? So were you diagnosed in January and treatment was June?
No, I got diagnosed in April. So I had my seizures the day before Anzac Day, and I ended up starting my treatment about mid-June. So just over 6 weeks, nearly 8 weeks.
Okay, so you had treatment for 8 weeks?
I had my stage 1 was having radiation 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And having temozolomide, which is a tablet version of chemotherapy. And I have 140 milligrams of that. And that was for 6 weeks. So I had 30 sessions of it all in total. I came to the end of it, and it was a really weird feeling. It was like, I'm feeling good. And then I got to a point where I knew it was the tumor, and I was like, oh, my head's not feeling good. And then I ended up having double vision, and I ended up just randomly being sick, like vomiting. I was trying to work through it, and I'd get like an hour in, and I'd run upstairs, and I'd spew my guts up, and I'd go home. And I ended up going to an optometrist to see about my vision. And he's like, no, you've got to go to the hospital right now. So I went there, and they checked my tumor again. And they reckoned that the radiation had the opposite effect, and they thought that it had grown. And basically just lying there in bed, and they go, well, here's some forms for you to fill out to take to Centrelink. You'll never work again. We can't even guarantee how long you'll live. And at that point, my dad rang me up, and he goes, no, we're going to go see another specialist. We're going to go down to Sydney. I've researched it. I found this doctor. We're going to get their opinion, and we're going to see what they say. So we went down there, and we saw this awesome doctor named Dr. Helen Wheeler.
Yep.
And she basically said what happened was my tumor reacted too well to it. So it swelled up, and it was coming down. So I ended up going on a tablet which took the swelling away. And then I had another year of temozolomide. And yeah, by the end of it, I ended up pretty much, well, that was a year ago that they told me that it was stable. So, which is what you want by that point. It's so small, they can't even measure it, and they can't even distinguish it between scar tissue and that sort of thing.
Man, congratulations from one survivor to another, man. I know the initial words of you have cancer comparatively to nope, it's all done is really two different sides to the same coin. But man, congratulations on from a fellow survivor to you, man. Good on you for fighting the good fight, man. So are you all in the clear now? Like, is it all done and dusted, or where are you at with it now?
Yeah, I'm just getting it monitored every 3 months by one doctor and 6 months by another doctor. And that's the thing. If anyone listening to this, if you go through this, stay positive.
Yeah.
That's what got me through, staying positive. I actually messaged a All Japan wrestler, Joe Doring, and he'd actually had a brain tumor. And he ended up coming back from it. And I messaged him and said, look, I'm in the same boat. What did you do? And he said, man, just stay positive. Just try and make the best of every day. And, that's what I did. And after I'd beaten it, I messaged him. I said, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I messaged you about a year ago telling you that I had a brain tumor and I'm now officially beaten it. And he goes, oh, that's awesome. And then we chatted a bit, and yeah. So that's my advice to anyone. Even you got family who's been sick with cancer, hear them out. let them vent, and then just be positive. Just talk about other stuff, just whatever they're into.
Man, 110%. I cannot agree with you more, man.
Yeah.
I I I was lucky on my side of things to not fully remember, being that it was such a young age, going through the cancer thing. It kind of felt like the Bourne Identity. Like I had photos and documents, and to me, the mentality of going through it was like having the flu. I didn't understand how dire those circumstances was for me at that stage. So I humbly bow to you, sir, because I couldn't imagine what it was like to actually live and remember. I should say live and remember going through that, man, because I think I got the short end of the stick in the sense of, yes, we both beaten this together, but I don't have those memories of going through it, and I guess that's somewhat of a blessing on my side of things. But I really tip my hat to you, because being at that age and going through that, and hell, remembering going through that as well is something that I know that we would both not wish upon anyone, especially ourselves. No. So how long after the treatment, were you sidelined for a while? Did you rush to get back into it, or when you were given the all clear, were you straight into doing shows again?
I actually rushed in.
Of course.
Yeah. Still to this day, one of my doctors goes, "I don't recommend you wrestling." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, well, I've been doing it for 18 months now, so.
Wow. Yeah. I've had that conversation too, man. It's fun. It's fun to gauge their reactions. So you're straight back into it, and you're still active to this day now.
Yep. Haven't missed a show.
Man, that is an impressive feat, and I say that with love and admiration from someone that's been through it as well. But yeah, dude, it's a hard battle to fight, and I'm very, very glad. And I'm sure a lot of people out there listening to this who may have not known that story are very, very happy and are very, very glad that not only did you go through it and come out the other side, but you were healthy enough to get back in the ring and then still share the knowledge that you've learned. So it's a tough task, but you did it, man, and props to you.
Yeah. Just going back, you were talking about how big Dallas was. I actually remembered a story from training way back in the day, because he was like at the top. He was working with Jethro, and he was working with Cruz, and he was the main guy. Yeah. And at training, he goes, "Oh, I really need to start working with smaller guys. So can I do some stuff with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, man." And he's like, "Oh, can you you put the heat on me?" And I was like, "Okay, no worries." So gave him something in the corner, and he fell down on all fours. And I remember going for a stomp on his back. And this was definitely before I'd ever seen the inside of a gym. And I stomped him on the back, and I hit it at such an angle, and his body is so big that I actually jarred my knee giving him a stomp. And I just fell down, and I'm like, "Oh," and he's like, "Oh, you okay, bro?" And I'm like, "Man, I just nearly dislocated my knee giving you a stomp. I think you need to stick to working the big boys."
I actually got to share the ring with Dallas one time, and it was at the QPW season 1 TV tapings we did, and there was a tag tournament where Dallas and I think it was Savage, a.k.a. Pala. It was Dallas and Pala versus
Pala.
Yeah, man. One of the first trainees that we had there at QPW. Lovely dude. I have nothing but time in the world for that man. It was Dallas and Pala versus myself and Island Boy. And there was one point in the match where, I weigh $150 wet, and Dallas can pick up, close to 200-300 kilos without flinching. And I remember getting in the ring with him, and we had talked about things before of like what we could do and what would look good and what would look good for the cameras and what would we thought would be funny and what would still look strong. And I remember him quite literally going to gorilla press me, dropping one arm and just walking around the ring with one hand underneath my abdomen, just clearly like, yep, this is like a shopping bag to him. And then I was squirming. I was like, put me down, put me down. The ref's freaking out. Put him down, put him down. You're going to kill him. You're going to kill him. And Dallas put me down. He brushed my shoulders off. And he then, I remember seeing the left arm of Dallas come back. And I went, what's happening? And I just remember hearing like a train, boom. And he clotheslined me and damn near took my head off my shoulders, man. And I hit that mat. And I had my come to Jesus moment pretty much 5 years later. And I went, God damn it. Like, there I was, flat back in the ring. Dallas had damn near taken my head off. And I remember him picking me up shortly after doing that move and immediately saying, sorry, bro, I had a brain fart. Yeah, no worries, man. I just died. My heart stopped, but oh, gee, Dallas. But yeah. Man. But no, honestly, man, like, you went through it all, and props to you, man, for going through it, dude. And there's nothing but love and respect from me going to you for going through that, man. So I'm very happy that you're here today.
Oh, thanks. I'm happy I'm here as well.
Well, I hope so. But
yeah.
So we've got to the point now where the segment of the podcast we do what's called a deep dive. Now we've learned about how you came from the sunny coast, how you moved to Cleveland, how you started wrestling, how you've been to all around the world, essentially doing wrestling, doing federations. But now we're going to take a deep dive into your psyche. You want to learn about psychology and do the wrestling psychology? Well, here we're going to do some live psychology. So are you ready? Are you ready, Mason, for the deep dive?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, that's not ready enough. Goodbye. No. All right, man. So my first question to you is, how do you, given everything that you've been through and coming back through it all, how do you define success?
I define success pretty much by how much influence you and your actions have amongst others, and especially others that are your friends and your family and your loved ones. To me, basically, like 2020 has been a really shit year for me so far. And I decided at the start of the week, I'm going to try and do one thing a day to be nice to someone or do something nice for someone and not expect anything back from it. Mm-hmm. So to me, if you can leave this earth and you've had a positive impact on a bunch of people, then that's success.
Man, that hits home, man. And I completely agree with those sentiments. What is the best advice that you have ever received?
Best advice? Never stop learning. Yeah. No matter what it is in life, especially in wrestling. I can see it and see down in Brisbane. I'm trying to avoid sort of slagging on people here, but I can see a lot of guys have gotten to that point where they're like, yep, I've trained. Now send me to Japan, send me to America, give me WWE tryouts. It's like, no, that's not how it works. Anytime one of the reasons I get a lot of guys, trainers and wrestlers who are better than me to come here is not only to teach my guys the stuff I can't teach them, but for me to learn as well, which is why I loved going to Japan, because I was just learning in every single match. And, we were just sort of calling it on the fly, and it was awesome. Like, I just don't really get that experience anymore. So anytime I do, I grab it, and I'm always trying to learn, and I'm always talking to people, and I'll always ask people what they thought of the show. and what they thought of my match and what they thought of a match that I've helped book and that sort of thing. So, yeah, never stop learning. That's the best advice I've ever been told.
Man, that's some sound advice. So anyone listening out there, please hear that advice, because that is something that it can apply to all different avenues in your life, whether it be personally or professionally. Do not ever stop learning, because the minute you do, you become stagnant, you get bored, and you shut yourself off from all experiences in life. So that's some sound advice, man.
Yep.
But given that advice, given all the history that you've had in and out of the wrestling circle, if you weren't wrestling, what would you be doing?
Ooh, probably some sort of martial arts, because when I was in school, I played basketball, but I also played tennis for quite a few years. And I realized I wasn't sort of getting anywhere with it. And then a guy that's still one of my best friends to this day, as they say, like, if a great friend is someone that you don't see for a long time and you just pick up where you left off. Yeah. That's how I am with this guy. He actually got me into boxing and he got me into karate, because at the time it was like very, very early days for mixed martial arts here. And we used to get the bootleg UFC tapes off market stalls and that sort of thing. And he was an amazing fighter, and he still does fights. Like, he went over to the Philippines and he went to Thailand, and that's where he ended up meeting his wife. So I would think I probably would have done that and probably got my brains beaten in.
Oh, man. Well, so you're still involved in the contact sports. You still want to do something athletic.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, this is the part of the podcast now which I like to call the Lipton 6. This is in tribute of James Lipton, who sadly we lost earlier this year in March 2020. He was an American writer, lyricist, actor, and the dean of the Actors Studio Drama School at Pace University in New York City, where he hosted and ran his TV show Inside the Actors Studio from 1994 to 2018. So, in honor and tribute of him, I'm going to ask you his famous 6 questions that he would ask all his guests before wrapping up his interview. So, you ready for the Lipton 6?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, man. The first Lipton question is, what is your favorite word?
Progress.
What turns you on?
Dark hair and glasses.
What sound or noise do you love?
Oh. Jeez. Pitbull songs. Shout out to Hartley Jackson on that one.
What is your favorite curse word?
Probably fuck.
You may have answered this already, but what profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Ooh. Maybe motivational speaking?
Okay.
Yeah.
If heaven exists, what would you like God to say when you reach... Hang on, I'll just do it again. Sorry.
Yep.
I accidentally hit my mouse. It's coming. Yeah. Everything's just wigging out right now. There we go. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
It's about time, you bald-headed son of a bitch.
Man, that's the best answer I've had so far on this podcast. All right,
Excellent.
man, we're gonna reach. We're hitting the home stretch now. Put the nitrous in the engine. We're revving up Vin Diesel style. We're hitting the Fast and the Furious to the finish line. Just before we ride off into the sunset, I have what I call the final 4. These are the final 4 questions of the podcast, and we can ride off into the sunset. So you ready for the final 4?
Yep, I'm all saddled up. Let's hit this sunset.
All right, partner, here we go. First one of the final 4. Was there ever a point where you thought, hey, this isn't going to work?
Oh, yeah, plenty of times. When I sold PWA Queensland, that was when it was at the point I was like, this is done. At the end of the second season of Grindhouse, when I ended up passing that on. Even recently, there's been quite a few times where I've really considered just packing up all my stuff into my car and driving back to Cleveland. Because as I was saying, I have a sister and she's just had a kid, and so I'm an uncle and he's just had his first birthday. But being so far away, I miss so much stuff, and all I get to see is little videos and daily photos of him and stuff. And I don't want to be like how my uncle was and still is, where just randomly show up every 2 or 3 years, you know. I want to be a part of his life. But at the same time, I still have work here and all this coronavirus stuff. I just got to see where that goes and what life will bring after that.
Yeah, 100%, man. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Have you ever stopped and thought, man, how the hell did I get here?
A couple of times. I look and I'm just like, this is all the stuff the kid watching Bash at the Beach 96 would never have believed. I've gone and I've wrestled the people that I'm an idol of, personal life, everything. I've just made the most of every situation and every relationship and every person I've met. And as I've fallen into other roles like trainer and booker, I'm just like, wow, like I would have been happy to have wrestled one match and that would have been it. Now I've run shows. I train people to do matches. I put matches together. I teach people. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Currently, what is your proudest moment or achievement?
My proudest moment was wressling in Michinoku Pro's World Maskman League, night one at Kurikan Hall. So a little bit of backstory on it. I ended up wrestling the Okinawa Pro Champion. And basically there's still this deep-seated hostility between Okinawa and mainland Japan after World War II stuff. So basically a woman who was a big fan of his gave out all colored streamers to the front row and everyone threw them. So all the Japanese natives, the Tokyo people, started chanting, Australia, Australia. So that's probably, so for like Japanese fans to be cheering at all, let alone for me, that just blew my mind. That whole 4 days of that tour, that's the biggest highlight of my life. Yeah.
And at this age now, looking back on everything you've accomplished, at this age, say from about 17 years old, did you ever think at 17 thinking about, hey, when I hit this age, this is where you'd be?
No, not at all. I thought I'd be married and kids and a family and all that sort of thing. And it hasn't happened yet, but fingers crossed sometime in the future.
Undoubtedly, man. This man is a catch. Only ladies out there listening, absolute snack city. I've never used that term before in my life, and I'll never use that term again.
Oh, you better use it when I'm down next.
Man, I eagerly await your return to where we are now. Hopefully this virus thing starts letting loose real soon. But where can people find you on social media? Do you do social media? And if so, where can people find you?
I tend to do all the social medias. I'm never touching TikTok. You can quote me on that. Australian Wolf, my Facebook fan page. Check that one out. If you're on Instagram, Australian Wolf QWA. And if you're on Twitter, Destiny Childs, all one word.
Do you have any merch that you want to plug?
Not right now. We do have a pretty rad Mad Dogs of the Universe shirt that I got designed, which is basically massive fan of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And I got all the Mad Dog Club done as different characters. And got Dingo. He's He-Man in the middle. And I got to be Trapjaw because Trapjaw was my favorite.
And where can people pick that shirt up from?
If you find the QWA shop on Redbubble, you'll find it just there. Sorry, can I tell one more story?
Yeah, man, go ahead.
Okay. In 2003, me and BJ Blade actually went to, is it called the Arena in the Valley? It was basically like, it's pretty much dead now. But like it used to be a big concert hall, and we went and saw ICP, and it's just so random. Like looking back now, he's got grown up kids. He's been married this whole time, and we went and watched Insane Clown Posse, and they couldn't get Fago through customs, so they had like the really crappy diet, no caffeine Coke, and they're like throwing them on everyone. Oh, it was insane. Great memory.
Well, as you leave us with that memory, man, again,
Yeah.
from the bottom of my heart, man, thank you so much for being a brother, for being a friend, for helping me out personally and professionally. I love you so much, man. Can't wait to see you again, and I'll catch you down the road.
Likewise. And yeah, all those feelings right back at you. And anyone that has like idolized me over these years, I thank you. And just remember, don't be a dick to everyone backstage, and we're all just people. Let's just be fucking good motherfuckers. Peace in the Middle East. And yeah, thank you. Thanks again for having me.
Alright, you guys, there it is, the complete interview with the one and only Mason Childs, aka Australian Wolf. I want to take this time again to thank Mason for coming on. And hey, thank you for listening and subscribing, hashtagging, tweeting, resharing, doing whatever you had to do to get this podcast out there. Make sure you subscribe at LMBC Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and at LMBC_podcast on Twitter. Until then, be safe, and I'll catch you next week.